All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Just give it a minute, let everybody get on live. Hope everybody's had an awesome Shabbat. Hope everybody had a blessed week. Praise Yah for the end of the week to be refilled and renewed and re-strengthened for another 6 days. I always just praise Yah for that. How many years worked 7 days a week, week after week, month after month, year after year, wore herself out, tore herself up. Praise Yah. He woke us up to His truth, to His word, and to the very thing that I'm going to be preaching on today, which is the Sabbath. All right. So, using the source I'm using. Now, I know you guys converse with me. You're used to doing that because of the live Bible studies and everything, but of course this is Shabbat, so I will not be paying attention to comments and stuff because I want to be able to get everything out that is very strongly on my heart to share, and it's a part of what all of us have been talking about getting ourselves just lined up with Yah, quit playing around, quit wasting time, quit thinking we have time, but thinking that the time is very, very short, and really coming to understand more than ever before that you are not promised tomorrow. Amen. So I'm going to blow the shofar and pray, and then we're going to get started. All right, so let's go ahead and pray. Avinu Shabashmayim, Yikadesh Shimcha, V'Barak Malchutcha, Retzoncha Yihye, Asui Bashmayim, Uvadet Vititen, Lachminu Timidi Umechol Lanu, Hatutinu Kaasher Anachnu Mahalim, Lahutim Lanu, Vial Tviinu, Lidei Nisayon Vishonre Nu Michora. Father, we praise you and we thank you. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our bread continually. Please forgive us the debt of our sins as we forgive the debt of those who sin against us. Lead us not into the hands of temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. In Yeshua's name. Father, be with us as we get into this sermon. May your truth be spoken. May you give ears to hear and a heart that is receptive to all who are listening and do listen later on. May your truth be spoken. Again, I repeat myself. For Father, I do not want a single word to come from my lips that is not your truth. I do not want to mislead anyone. I do not ever want to be a false anything when it comes to your word. When it comes to speaking your word. And as I speak your word right now, I ask, Father, let there be no sin or iniquity against me, that my words that my lips be clean right now as I speak your word and teach your word. Father, I ask, may my eyes be clean as I look upon your holy scriptures. May my thoughts be pure before you. And may you anoint this message to be received your way and no other way. I ask this in Yeshua's holy name. Amen. All right, Mishpacha. Well, anybody that knows me knows, sorry, hat's driving me nuts. Anybody that knows me knows how much I love the Sabbath. It is, to me, and I'm not declaring that what I'm saying is 100% absolute fact or biblical fact. I do personally believe Scripture proves it to be an absolute fact, but I tell anybody, go and study it out for yourself. The Sabbath, I think, is the number one covenant. And it is what everything of Scripture comes off of. It is what everything in Scripture is based from. I believe that. It is the first covenant created. I'm sorry, is the first commandment made, the first covenant, which is the Sabbath, this sacred day of rest. We're going to get into those scriptures. And I've preached the Sabbath every way that I believe Yah has shown me to do, in every possible way that I think could be preached. But the Sabbath in and of itself is what it is. It is the holiest covenant of all. I say that because of what Scripture says. Because it is the only covenant that sets us apart. It is the only covenant that declares us marked by Him. It is the only covenant that Yah says, this is a sign between me and you, that all the world will know that you belong to me. No other covenant says that. No other covenant is that personalized, that intimate. And so the Sabbath, Shabbat, Shalom, to be made whole, to be complete. It is everything finished. It is everything complete. It's done. And it's the fruits of your labor in that rest. And ultimately what we await of the ultimate rest. So before I get ahead of myself, in all honesty, there's not much for me to have to say. Because I surrender to Yah's own words and what He spoke through His prophets and through everybody all the way up to the disciples. I submit to their wording. If we just listen to what the Word says, there is no question of what the Sabbath is. There's no question of how to keep the Sabbath. There's no question on how to honor, guard, shemer, to guard, to protect, to keep, to make holy, to also guard and protect, to put a hedge around. All these things that these words mean all throughout Scripture about the Shabbat, about His Sabbath. So, without me just trying to preach a sermon, allow me to just read to you the words of Yehovah. And may your eyes see, may your ears hear what the Spirit says to the bride. Amen. Okay. Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. Would you put scriptures in? Is that? I can't do that. Oh, okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, and this thing will lock up on you. So, all right. If anybody's listening, if you're able to, if not, that's okay. But if somebody would put the scriptures in as I read them, I would appreciate that. Genesis chapter 2, verses 1 through 3. Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished. On the seventh day, El ended his work which he had done. He rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, hallowed it, kadosh, made it holy, because in it he rested from all his work which Yah had created and made. Like I said, let's let the word speak for itself. Listen to the words. Listen to what is being said. So he describes that heaven and earth has been made. It is done. Our God, our Messiah, Yeshua, Yehovah, Yeshua, who was given the authority over all the heavens and the earth to go and create, as Genesis 1:1 tells us. Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished. On the seventh day, Yah ended his work. So this is a big deal to him. So much so that he's put it all the way up here at the beginning. He's made a big, he could have just said 6 days, boom, done. We're good. And that's it. Okay? That seventh day, whatever. That's what he could have given us. But he didn't. He made a point. He gave detailed point. Just like each day that he created. And on this one, he said, this is the day of rest. I have made it holy. He doesn't say that about any of the other days. Not day 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Not even the day of the day he created us. The whole purpose of this whole plan, us, to create a people unto himself. Even that day, he did not declare to be holy and sanctified. But no, the day he said, I am done. I'm rest. And he rested. And as he says, this day is holy. So as the words of Yehovah declared, I tell you the truth, Mishpachah, the seventh day has been sanctified and is made holy. Amen? Okay. So let's go to the next book of Torah, Exodus. And let's start in chapter 16. Exodus 16. We're going to do verses 23 and then 27 through 30. Exodus 16:23, also verses 27 through 30. All right. So first, Exodus 16:23. Then he said to them, this is what Yehovah has said. Tomorrow is a Sabbath rest, a Kadosh Shabbat, holy Sabbath to Yehovah. He always says that, to him. Bake what you will bake today. Okay, so we established this is the 6th day of the week, what we know to be Friday. So because he says tomorrow is Shabbat. So paying attention to what the words are saying here. Tomorrow is Shabbat. It is a holy Shabbat. Bake what you will bake. Boil what you will boil. Lay up for yourselves all that remains to be kept until morning. So right here, crystal clear, Yah says, cook your food, prepare your food for Shabbat on the 6th day. End of discussion. That's it. Nowhere in the following scriptures or chapters or anywhere else in this entire Bible is there any place where Yah said we no longer have to obey that. Nowhere. Even the Brit Hadashah proves that. And we'll get to that later. So plain and simple, we take the word for what it says. Cook and bake and boil, which is cooking. Look up the word in the dictionary. Baking and boiling and all of that is cooking. You do your cooking on the 6th day and you lay it up onto the Sabbath. Why? I'll jump ahead on one thing, because Exodus 35 verses 1 through 3, before I come back to Exodus 16, let's put these two together so that way we have an immediate connection. Exodus 35 verses 1 through 3. Then Moses gathered all the congregation of the children of Israel together and said to them, these are the words which Jehovah has commanded you to do. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the 7th day shall be a holy day for you, a Sabbath of rest to the Lord. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire throughout your dwellings on the Sabbath day. And that's why everything is to be baked and boiled on the 6th day, because we are not to kindle a fire and we are not to cook, because it is servile work. And I'll get to that in a minute. So continuing on, Exodus 16, just taking the word for what it says. Exodus 16, we read verse 23, jumping forward to verses 27 through 30. Now it happened that some of the people went out on the 7th day to gather, but they found none. And Jehovah said to Moshe, how long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for Jehovah is giving you the Sabbath. Therefore he gives you on the 6th day bread for 2 days. Let every man remain in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. So what's my point to those verses? In this chapter, read the whole chapter, you will see that Yah says, I will give you bread, the manna. You will go out into the field and collect it every day. And prior to verse 23, it said that they went out and collected twice as much on the 6th day so that they can make their food and prepare food for the Sabbath. And it also says that on the 7th day, there will be nothing. Do not go out looking for it. You will not find it. And as we just read, they went out on the Sabbath looking for it because they didn't listen and they didn't find it. One of the reasons why I wanted to read these particular 3 verses, 27, 28, 29, 30, 40 verses, is because I wish if Yah would do the same today, that anybody who would try to cook or prepare food on the Sabbath, that food would just rot like that. And people would get a clue about honoring his Shabbat, obeying his Sabbath, doing what you're supposed to do to prepare for it, and not doing these things on the Sabbath. Let's continue on back to so let's go to Exodus chapter 20, and let's get the fullness of what was written on the tablet stones, the 10 Commandments, the tablet stones, what the finger of Yehovah wrote on the tablet stones, 10 commandments. And the 4th commandment, Exodus 20, starting at verse 7. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath day. Remember, do not forget to keep in remembrance, keep before you. I've seen some definitions where it says before your face, to keep always before your face. Okay? Remember. So this is something you're never to ever forget. It's not something that is, oh, well, that's an old memory. No, it's to be kept fresh before you always, in your thought always. It's to be what you're seeking every day of the week. As you get through the other 6 days, you're looking forward to that Shabbat. That's what this is. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it kadosh, to keep it holy. Do not profane it. How do you not profane it? Right here. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath day of Yehovah, your Elohim. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yehovah made the heavens and the earth, the sea, all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore Yehovah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. That, Mishpachah, is the 4th commandment of the 10 commandments. All 10 commandments are still spoken of and brought up by Yeshua and the disciples throughout the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament. And we're going to get into that shortly. But let's continue to let the scriptures do the talking. Let's go to Exodus, last one in Exodus. Exodus, love it. I love the Torah. I love the corner, the foundation of the Bible. It makes everything else so much easier to understand. Exodus chapter 31, verse 14. Actually, it's, thank you, Abba. I didn't even realize I was going to read this. Exodus 31, I just decided I was going to do only verse 14, but I'm going to read verses 12 through 18, and I'm so glad because of what you'll see. All right, starting at verse 12. Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, speak also to the children of Israel, saying, surely my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. What did I say, Mishpachah? You look at every covenant. Look at them all. The rainbow covenant, the covenant of marriage, and all the other covenants that pertain to ultimately what is us and him. Look at all the other covenants, and you won't find a single covenant that he declares what he declares here. surely my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Jehovah who sanctifies you. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is pure, it is holy to you. Everyone, not some, everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death. Now, right here, I will put this little blurb in. We have people who, because they don't want to obey, they'll say, oh, so since I'm breaking the Sabbath, are you going to stone me to death? No, because that was for the Levitical priests to give that directive, to give that order, because they were the authority. And it was for the judges like Samuel and stuff like that to make those declarations. We don't have those people today. So even if we wanted to, we couldn't. So you're lucky. You're lucky that we are not in that place right now where that judgment would be exacted upon you. You can thank Yeshua that that can't happen right now. How many of us, or how many would be dead right now for the way you have profaned his Sabbath, knowing you should be keeping his Sabbath? This is where true mercy and grace comes in. But you do need to be afraid, because you may not be put to death now, or put to death by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, but you will be put to death when you stand before Yeshua. And he says, why didn't you honor my Sabbath? And you have no excuse. You won't have an excuse. You won't even be able to speak. Most likely you'll be terrified because you know you'll have no excuse. And then he will cast you from his presence. Sabbath is a commandment, and it is a sin unto death if you break it. Scripture says it. And that has never changed. So as he says, everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death. For whoever does any work on it, that person shall be cut off from among his people. Work shall be done for 6 days, but the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Adonai. Whoever does any work on the Sabbath day, he's saying it again, you will be put to death. Therefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations as a perpetual covenant. The word perpetual, the Hebrew word olam, it means a time without end, for all eternity. It means forever and ever. That doesn't mean that 2,000 years, 3,000 years later, forever is done. Yeshua is coming to die to put away from that. Then why did everybody who was put to death for breaking Shabbat, how is that justified? Their punishment is unjust. Yah does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And I love this. It's so beautiful. How can you not be in love with Shabbat? Verse 17, it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Jehovah made the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day he rested and was refreshed. And when he had made an end of speaking with him on Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone, written with the finger of Yah. Just what I said a few minutes ago. This commandment, Mishpachah, this commandment written by the finger of Yah. How dare anybody to say that it is done away? How dare you profane the holy, holy Sabbath of Yehovah. May Yah have mercy. And not only that, Mishpachah, as he is made clear in those verses, let's go next to Leviticus chapter 23. Let us see. We know that ultimately we learn that there are 7 feasts. But I've always said this, in actuality, Scripture teaches of 8. And the very first feast is the Sabbath. Leviticus chapter 23, verses 1 through 3. Yehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel. Say to them, the feasts of Yehovah. What did I just say? Wait a minute. What did I just say? The feasts of Yehovah. So let's go to the Hebrew scriptures and let us look at the very words here. The Moedi, which is the Hebrew word for feast. My feast. Moedi. My feast. The feast of Yehovah. Like Avinu, Malkenu. Our king. Avinu, my father. Moedi, my feast. This is what Yehovah is saying. My feast. The feast of Yehovah, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations. These are my feasts, Moedi, my Moedim, my feasts. And the first one, verse 3, 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of solemn rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work on it. It is the Sabbath of Yehovah in all your dwellings. Ooh, it is everything to contain myself from screaming hallelujah right now. I'll scare everybody in the house. Are you listening to the words of Yehovah? Are you listening to his words? Not only is this the first covenant, not only is this the first commandment made, but it is the first of the feasts. It's showing you, Mishpachah, that everything is tied to Shabbat. Everything cannot be without Shabbat, because what does Shabbat? What is that? What is shalom? Shabbat shalom. To be made whole, to be complete. We don't say thus shalom to anything else. We don't say Pesach shalom, Shavuot shalom, Sukkot shalom. We say Hag Sameach. Have a happy holiday, happy holy day. But we say Shabbat Shalom. Shalom is connected to Shabbat. Yerushalayim, the city of Shalom. Because it is ultimately about what Shalom brings. And it is that Sabbath rest. We are not whole. We are not complete until we have entered into his rest. And his rest is he gives it to us every week to remind us. He gives it to us every week so we don't forget it. Because as we wait to enter into that ultimate rest, that new heaven and new earth rest for all eternity, and even the millennial rest, that shalom, that 1,000 years as Yeshua will rule and reign from the city of peace, the city of shalom, Yerushalayim, with our King, Hasar Shalom, the Prince of Peace, as he will bring us into his rest. He will enter the world and all of it into that millennial rest, that 1,000 years of peace, to be whole, to be complete, because the earth will never be whole and complete until Yeshua comes and reigns as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Man, woo, if that doesn't make you just want to weep for joy. So, as I said, the beginning of his feast is the Sabbath rest. So let's go to the next one. And let the word continue to be the explanation. Deuteronomy 5. Deuteronomy 5. Man, I love his Sabbath. To be alone with him on Shabbat, to be with my brethren on Shabbat, both I cherish. Both are everything. But the greatest thing is that if you are doing it right, you're guaranteed to have the presence of Yehovah on his Shabbat. That is what matters most. You can get together with the brethren and have all the goosebumpily feel-good stuff you want. But if you're not keeping the Sabbath right, it's nothing. It means nothing. You can have your Sabbath your way by yourself and whatever way you choose to see fit. But if you're not doing the Sabbath the way Yah says to, then it's meaningless. And it's only for you. And you'll have your reward in that. But Yah is not present. If you think that you can break any of what we've already read in the scriptures, if you think that any part of that is obsolete, then Yah does not bless you on the Sabbath, and you declare that you keep the true Sabbath. Proverbs 28 verse 9. He who turns his ear from the Torah, even his prayer is an abomination. I'm not just talking about to those in the church who disregard the seventh day of Shabbat. I am talking especially to you who claim to know the Sabbath, who claim to know the Torah, and who claim to keep it and are profaning it. Because you're lighting menorahs or anything else during the Sabbath. Because you're cooking and buying and selling and working on the Sabbath. Because you found a teacher in the Messianic Hebrew roots community who was able to twist it around enough to make it sound good enough that you can still do what you want on Shabbat and still think you honor Shabbat. Nope. God is not a fool. He will not be mocked. And if you think this, then you are the fool, says the word. We need to stop playing with his word, especially his Sabbath. You want to see blessing like you've never seen in your life? If you have never kept the Sabbath true, honored it the way Yah says to, do it one time and watch what happens through the next week of your life. I know this to be true. I can stand on this and speak boldly in this because I've experienced that blessing. Because I know his word says, and I keep what his word says. And I don't stray from the way he says to keep the Sabbath, because I listen to him and not them. All right. Oh, I love this. I'm going to enjoy this. Okay, so Deuteronomy 5:12 through 15 is the same as Exodus 20:8 through 11. It's the showing of the Ten Commandments. So let's go to Nehemiah. I love this. I love Nehemiah. Nehemiah is my kind of dude. He tells it the way it should be. Man, if more people had the guts, more true shepherds of Yah, true pastors and preachers and teachers and everything else you want to, whatever you want to call yourself, had this kind of boldness. All right, so Nehemiah, let's go to chapter 9 first. Chapter 9, verses 13 and 14. Nehemiah 9, 13 and 14. So first here it says, you came down also on Mount Sinai, spoke with them from heaven, gave them just ordinances and true laws, good statutes and commandments. And what's the first thing he says? What's the first thing he says? You made known to them your holy Shabbat. Always the first thing. Always the first thing. Then he follows up with, and commanded them precepts, statutes, and laws. Yah puts Sabbath all by itself. It's set apart. Excuse me. It's set apart, Mishpachah. That's why it sets us apart when we obey it, because it's set apart. He doesn't throw it in there with all the commandments and stuff. He's like Sabbaths and the commandments and the laws and the precepts and the statutes and the ordinances. By the hand of Moses, your servant, I gave you this. You gave them bread from heaven for their hunger. Oh, okay, went ahead. All right, so established there. Sabbath is set above the rest. Now let's jump forward to Nehemiah chapter 13. Nehemiah chapter 13, starting at verse 15. In those days I saw people in Judah treading wine presses on the Sabbath, bringing in sheaves and loaded donkeys with wines and grapes and figs and all kinds of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And they're selling, just like Yeshua when he turned the tables over in the temple. He says, I warned them about the day on which they were selling provisions. Men of Tyre dwelt there also, who brought in fish and all kinds of goods, sold them on the Sabbath to the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah and said to them, what evil thing is this that you do? And yet, I have been to so many Messianic congregations who have a Shabbat store open on Shabbat, selling shofars and talits and all these things. Same thing. Nothing new under the sun. What evil thing is this that you do by which you profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers do thus? Did not our El bring all this disaster on us and on this city? Yet you bring added wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath. Mishpachah, in our individual walk, if you are profaning Shabbat and you know to keep Shabbat and you claim to keep Shabbat and you are profaning it and you refuse to acknowledge what you're breaking, do you not understand the very wrath of Yah that you're bringing on your own head? Do you not understand that this is very well probably the reason why you've got all kinds of problems going on in your life? Yet you bring added wrath on Israel by profaning the Sabbath. So it was at the gates of Jerusalem as it began to be dark before the Sabbath. Oh, that means Shabbat starts at sundown. That just told us that. Wouldn't you agree with that, Brother James? Mm-hmm. Yep. Starts at sundown. That I commanded the gates to be shut, and I charged that they must not be opened till after the Sabbath. Then I posted some of my servants at the gates, so that no burdens would be brought in on the Sabbath day. Now the merchants and sellers of all kinds of wares lodged outside Jerusalem once or twice. Then I warned them. I love this. I love this. I love this. Then I warned them and said to them, why do you spend the night around the wall? If you do again, I will lay hands on you. From that time on, they came no more on the Sabbath. He had to finally threaten to put a whooping on them if they didn't stop. Nobody has the guts to do that anymore. Well, there's a few of us that still do. This is why the bride is failing. This is why sin is finally winning out. Because we are profaning. We call ourselves Israel. Well, it says that if you're profaning the Sabbath, you're bringing sin and wrath upon Israel. So are you Israel or not? And if you're a Christian and you're like, I'm not Israel. Well, actually, that's not true. Because if you claim to have Yeshua, then you are the commonwealth of Israel. Ephesians chapter 2. In Romans 11, that you are grafted in through Messiah into the tree of Israel. Yah has only one people, and they are Yisrael. And they are 12 tribes. And those 12 tribes' names are on the 12 gates around the new Jerusalem in the new heaven. And so unless you enter in through one of those gates, you will not enter in to the new Jerusalem. Because none of them say church. None of them say any of the names of the absurd denominations throughout this world. It says the 12 tribes of Israel. So you are Israel. And if you're not going to heaven. And that's what the Bible says. Because only Yisrael shall enter into the new Jerusalem, the new heavens and the new earth. Because that is the covenant given to Yah, to us by Yah from the beginning. Next one. Now that we talked about the laying on of hands, let's talk about the awesome heart of Yehovah and what the Sabbath means, not only to him, but to Yisrael, to even those who would be called the Goyim, the heathens, the nations, the Gentiles. Isaiah chapter 56. This shuts down every argument that every Gentile Christian has, who says, I'm not Israel, I'm a Gentile Christian. So here you go, Gentile Christians. I had to do that one more time. Isaiah 56, 1 through 8. Let the word of Yah speak for itself. Thus says Yehovah, keep justice, do righteousness, for my salvation is about to come, my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, the Son of Man who lays hold on it. And here we go again, being set apart, standing out above the rest. It's not the first commandment. It's not the second commandment. It's not the third or the fifth or the sixth or any other commandment. It's not naming a feast day, but it's naming the very first commandment ever made, the very first covenant ever made, and the very first feast ever made. It says, and the Son of Man who lays hold on it, who keeps from defiling the Sabbath, keeps his hand from doing any evil. So the hand of evil is correlated with profaning the Sabbath, defiling the Sabbath. Same word. Do not let the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to Yah speak. So don't let the Gentiles who've joined themselves unto Yah, because they're no longer a Gentile. You're no longer a foreigner. But it says, because Yah knows man and knows the diarrhea of the mouth and the silly things that we say, don't let the son of the foreigner, the Gentile, the Goy, who has joined himself to Yah, in other words, declared to be a servant of Yah, speak and say that Yah has utterly separated me from his people. I'm not a part of his people. I'm not a part of them. Whether it's false humility or they say it in humility because they really feel like they have no deserving of being a part of them. He says, don't let them say this, that we are utterly separated from his people, nor let the eunuch say, I am a dry tree. For thus says Yehovah, not anybody else, not a priest, not a man, not anybody, but Yehovah himself, Mishpachah. Listen, I tell you the truth. Thus says Yehovah. To the eunuchs who keep my Sabbath. He didn't say my commandments. He didn't say my anything else. He said my Sabbath. And choose what pleases me. Hold fast my covenant. Even to them I will give in my house, within my walls, a place, a name, better than that of sons and daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Also, the sons of the Goyim, the Gentiles, who joined themselves to Yehovah, to serve him, to love the name of Yehovah, to be his servants. What's he speak of first again? Everyone who keeps from defiling the Sabbath, holds fast my covenant. Even them I will bring to my holy mountain. Make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings, their sacrifices will be accepted on my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all Goyim. Yehovah Elohim, who gathers the outcast of Israel, says, I will gather to him others besides those who are gathered to him. He is prophesying. Yah himself is giving the prophetic word that he alone establishes, that this will be unto all nations. Not just those who I gather unto myself. There are my chosen, my anointed people, Yisrael, the 12 tribes from the 12 sons of Yaakov, Yisrael himself. But he says, there are others that I will gather unto me. And that is all of those who are of the Gentile nations, who will come, who just like Ruth, who says, your God is my God, your people are my people, his ways are my ways, and I will obey him. And it is all surrounding this one word, Sabbath. Sabbath. If you keep the Sabbath, Mishpachah, not how you want to keep it, not how you think you should do it, not so you can do it your way and still get to do your fleshly desires and all of these things. No, no, no. If you actually obey the Sabbath the way the word says, and obey the word, and not stray, and not go to the left or to the right, and not look at these ignorant people out here who lead falsely. These false shepherds, the very thing that Anthony has preached on the last 3 weeks. his series on beware of false teachers. This is the worst false teacher out there, is the one who would lead you to break the Sabbath, who would lead you away from his set apart marked day. It is the worst teacher of all. It is the worst false prophet of all. Because Yehovah prophesied that if you keep my Sabbath, that my house and my walls will have a place and a name for you. Better than sons and daughters. If you keep my Sabbath and choose what pleases me. Come on. Those verses alone should tear us up, either in conviction and guilt or in the greatest of joy and excitement. Because if you obey his Sabbath the way his word says to, and you don't stray, Mishpah, this is your joy. This is something that should make you come up out of your skin, screaming, hallelujah, hallelujah, praise be to Yehovah, hallelujah. Because it is a promise of ours. It's ours to have. It's mine. If I obey his Shabbat, it's mine. And it gets even better, Mishpah. Turn with me to Isaiah 58, 13 and 14. Isaiah 58, 13 and 14. And you're going to tell me that Yeshua came, died a horrific, horrifying, we can't even imagine what it must have been like. That he did that so that you don't have to obey the Sabbath anymore? Blasphemy are your words. Profane are your thoughts. That you would think upon the word of Yehovah in such a way that you could even entertain the very thought of his Shabbat this way, especially you know the truth. Now may Yah show you mercy if you don't know the truth and you speak out of ignorance and lack of understanding because of the fools and foolishness of the wolves who have taught you this horrible sin. May Yah have mercy and open your eyes and show you the truth. In Yeshua's name. Isaiah 58, 13 and 14. If you turn away your foot from Shabbat, and not turn it away as in walk away, but turn it away as in to rest, to walk in the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure. Whatever it is, I don't care what it is, Mishpah. Are you willing to give up all your pleasure, your fleshly wants and desires of the day? Are you willing to give that up for him? Does he not deserve that from us? Has he not earned it enough for you to give him your all for 24 measly little hours? From doing your pleasure on my holy day, call the Sabbath a delight. We should weep for the joy and for the privilege to even understand what it is, to even know what Sabbath means. We should truly call it a delight, Mishpah. The holy day of Yehovah honorable, and shall honor him, not doing our own ways, not finding your own pleasure, nor speaking words, then you shall delight yourself in Yehovah. And what does he say? He says, I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth. How dumb can we possibly be? Seriously. This is what Satan hides from your eyes. He doesn't want you to read this and see that if you keep the Sabbath, the amazing reward that he will pour out on you. He doesn't want you to see it. He's like, no, 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 no. Oh, now they're trying to put you under the law, under the thumb to obey. Oh, you don't want to obey? You don't have to obey. He got rid of all that. Don't worry about that. Don't even look at it. Stay away from it. Wait, it's actually another day. It's on Sunday. Yeah, that's it. The first day of the week. It's been changed. Go and follow that. That's your Sabbath. Because he doesn't want you to know, Mishpachah, right here, that if you actually keep the Sabbath and call it a delight and deny yourself completely, I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the land. Eretz. The Hebrew word eretz, the land. And feed you with the heritage of Jacob, your father. Okay, Jacob, if you look at what Jacob did, it says that Yah blessed all that Jacob put his hand to do. Everything. There was nothing. It was, he literally, that stupid saying of the one who's got touch of the golden egg or something lame like that. If there was ever one who had that, Jacob. Jacob was blessed, anointed, gifted by the Holy Spirit, because that's exactly where it came from, to have that golden touch blessing, because everything that he touched was blessed. Everything that he wanted and put his hand to do was blessed, and there was nothing that he sought that Yah did not give him. Even to the point that the very hands of Jacob were anointed when he wrestled with Yeshua himself, and Yeshua said, let go of me, and he said, no, not until you bless me. Now we know Yeshua could have killed him in an instant, could have crushed him and made him go poof in the air. But he showed the blessing. This is the blessing of Yaakov that Yah is actually saying, I will give to you just for honoring my Sabbath. Are you hearing me? This is the blessing. And Yah touched his hip, but he changed his name to Yisrael because he wrestled with Yah and prevailed. Because we wrestle, Mishpachah, to fight, to obey, and to keep right with him, to not let go. And we will prevail if you become Yisrael. And you become Yisrael through Yeshua, our salvation, our King and our God. Amen? And so all of this, to finish the last sentence, the mouth of Yehovah has spoken. This is by the mouth of Yah, not by the mouth of anyone else. But let it be known, for right here, even unto the end, and this is description of the new earth, the new heavens, because it says it. So that means if the Sabbath is then, it has to be now. Isaiah 66, verses 22 and 23. Isaiah 66, 22 and 23. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, says Yehovah, so shall your descendants and your name remain. It shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, from one Shabbat to another, all flesh shall come to worship before me, says Yehovah. All the way to the end, the Sabbath shall remain. Let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 17. Jeremiah 17, 19 through 27. Thus says Jehovah to me, go stand in the gate of the children of the people, by which the kings of Judah came in, and by which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem. Say to them, hear the word of Jehovah, you kings of Yehuda, all Yehuda, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, who enter by these gates. Thus says the Lord, take heed to yourselves. Bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in the gates of Jerusalem, nor carry a burden out of your houses on the Sabbath day. What is this? This is quoting straight from the Torah. Nor do any work, but hallow the Sabbath day, as I commanded your fathers. But they did not obey, nor incline their ear, but made their necks stiff, that they might not hear, nor receive instruction. It will be, if you heed me carefully, says Jehovah, to bring no burden through the gates of this city on the Sabbath day, but hallow the Sabbath day, to do no work in it. Then shall enter the gates of this city kings and princes sitting on the thrones. This is just from keeping the Sabbath. The Sabbath. Do you realize if America or Israel or any nation on this planet would keep the Sabbath, just that alone? This is what I was talking about. Do you understand the blessing that would be poured out on you if you actually kept the Sabbath right in your life? And you quit. If you are keeping it and you're not doing it the way the word says to, then stop disobeying. And you'll watch a magnificent change in your life happen just from you starting to keep it right. Stop making excuses. Stop looking for corners to cut. Stop looking for loopholes to find, because you're not a lawyer and they're not going to stand the test of time when you stand before Yeshua on Judgment Day. You will have no case. You will lose. If you would obey the Sabbath, if the country of America would obey the Sabbath, kings and princes would enter into it and bless it. Says Yehovah, I tell you the truth, Mishpachah. Continuing on. Verse 25 again, then shall enter the gates of the cities of this city, kings and princes sitting on the throne of David, riding in chariots on horses, they and their princes accompanied by the men of Judah, the inhabitants of Jerusalem. This city shall remain forever. They shall come from the cities of Judah, from the places around Jerusalem, from the land of Benjamin, from the lowland, from the mountains, from the south. They will bring burnt offerings and sacrifices and grain offerings and incense, bringing sacrifices of praise to the house of Jehovah. But if you will not heed me, to hallow my Sabbath day, such as not carrying a burden when entering the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then I will kindle a fire in its gates. It shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem. It shall not be quenched. And that's exactly what Yah did to Israel. For every kind of Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, the holy day Sabbaths, and the Shemitah Sabbath. What Shemitah Sabbath? What's a Shemitah Sabbath? The land Sabbath. Every seventh year, Israel was to let the land rest. It was an example for all the world, for all the earth to keep, and all the earth does not do. And this is why we have GMO foods. This is why, because the nutrients have been depleted out of the land of the earth. Israel did it for 490 years, disobeyed the Shemitah. It's right there in Jeremiah and I think in Ezekiel and other places. And it's the Shemitah Sabbath. Every 7th year you shall let the land rest all year. No planting, no growing, no harvesting, no nothing. You don't touch it. You let it rest. Let it rest. Let your cattle rest. Let everything rest. And they did that for 70 land Sabbaths. 70 times 7 is 490 years. They disobeyed. And for 70 years, Yah condemned them, damned them, and punished them and said, you will live in captivity 1 year for every land Sabbath that you broke. So Israel went into captivity, into Babylon, under Nebuchadnezzar for 70 years for breaking the land Sabbath. They lost their kingdom, Mishpachah. They lost their sovereignty as a royal nation, as a royal people, as a priestly people. They lost it all, and it was taken away for 70 years. And they spent in captivity. They went to jail. Man, if Yah was to put us in jail for breaking his Shabbat, how long of a sentence would we be getting? Kind of scary. So he burned it all up, literally and spiritually. All right, the last verse in Tanakh that I'm using, Ezekiel chapter 20. And Tanakh, for those who don't know, is the Old Testament, which is complete farce and is completely false. There is no scrolls of Old Testament. It is all one covenant. It is Genesis to Revelation, one testament, one covenant. That's it. But for the sake of argument, Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 10 through 24. Therefore I made them go out of the land of Egypt, brought them into the wilderness. Again, Ezekiel 20, verses 10 through 24. And I gave them my statutes and showed them my judgments, which if a man does, he shall live by them. Moreover, I also gave them my Sabbaths, to be a sign between them and me, that they might know that I am Yehovah, who sanctifies them. His Sabbath is a sign so that we know who he is. Verse 13, yet the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They did not walk in my statutes. They despised my judgments, which, if a man does, he shall live by them, and they greatly, he emphasizes on this, they greatly defiled my Sabbaths. So they broke my judgments, they broke my laws, and all of this, but they greatly defiled my Sabbaths. I lost my place. Hang on a second. Okay, continuing, I think I'm still in verse 13. Finishing up verse 13. Then I said, so they greatly defiled my Sabbaths. Then I said, I would pour out my fury on them in the wilderness to consume them. But I acted for my name's sake, because Moses talked him out of it. Yah allowed Moses to talk him out of it. He said, I acted for my name's sake, that it should not be profaned before the Gentiles, in whose sight I had brought them out. So I also raised my hand in an oath to them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, the glory of all lands, because they despised my judgments and did not walk in my statutes, but profaned my Sabbaths. For their heart went after their idols. Nevertheless, my eyes spared them from destruction, I did not make an end of them in the wilderness. And where am I going to? 24, okay. But I said to their children in the wilderness, do not walk in the statutes of your fathers, nor observe their judgments, nor defile yourselves with their idols. I am Yehovah your Elohim. Walk in my statutes, keep my judgments, do them, hallow my Sabbaths, and they will be a sign between me and you, that you may know that I am Yehovah your Elohim. Notwithstanding, the children rebelled against me. They did not walk in my statutes, and were not careful to observe my judgments, which if a man does, here he states it again, and you will have the backup to all of that. You go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 through 14. It says, if you keep my commandments, this is what will happen to those who obey my commandments. So go and read Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 14. That confirms what he's saying here, that if you do them, you will live by them. You will not live by them as I will live according to this. It's I will live because I'm obeying them. That's what that means. You will live because of them. But they profaned my Sabbaths. Then I said I would pour out my fury on them and fulfill my anger against them in the wilderness. Nevertheless, I withdrew my hand and acted for my name's sake, that it should not be profaned in the sight of the Gentiles, in whose sight I had brought them out. Mishpah, come on, do you not understand what Yah's saying? He was so mad because they were breaking his Shabbat as well as his commandments. But he doesn't name off other commandments. He says his laws and his commandments, and then he names off the Sabbath. And he's really specific on the Sabbath. And he became so angry. Twice he was ready to be done with them. But yet twice, for his name's sake only, it stopped him from killing and wiping us all out and being done. And then this would have had to have come another way, should he have continued. But the key point here is he became so angry from profaning his Sabbath. How dare you? Anybody who would dare say that the Sabbath is done away, that is whatever day we want to call it, whatever day we choose to pick. God, you don't know what you're doing. May Yah have mercy. Verse 23, also I raised my hand in an oath to those in the wilderness that I scattered them among the Gentiles, dispersed them through the countries, because they had not executed my judgments, because they had despised my statutes, because they profaned my Sabbaths, and their eyes were fixed on their fathers' idols. And any of you today, that you would dare tell somebody it's okay to cook on the Sabbath. It's okay to work on the Sabbath. It's okay to light a fire on the Sabbath. How dare you? You are of the devil. You are not of Yehovah, because the very wrath that you will incur, you are the very epitome of what Yeshua said to the Pharisees when he said, you proselyte and make them twice the son of hell as you. You are that person. You teach somebody that they don't have to keep the Sabbath, that they don't have to do any of these things to honor the Sabbath, that they can do what they want. You will get full cup of his indignation upon you because of that alone. God have mercy on you for everything else you've got piled up on it. Let's go to Mark chapter 2. Mark chapter 2. Whew, man, it's hot in here. Mark 2, 27 and 28. And Yeshua said, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Therefore, the Son of Man is also a dawn of the Sabbath. So I have never heard anybody, including myself, ever explain this very well. And I hope and pray that what I'm about to say is going to be the right explanation. And I would like to believe it is, and I sure hope it is. And if it's not, then may my lips not proceed with any words from it. Mark 2:27. Sabbath keeps us. Sabbath was made for man because it was created to keep you. It was created to sustain you. It was created to refresh you, to renew you, to restore you, to make you whole and complete. That is why Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Because the Sabbath is Yah's holy covenant that marks us and sets us aside. Because Sabbath is the very thing that we all await to enter into when it's all finished. Because Sabbath is the covenant that makes us whole and complete. We do not make Sabbath whole and complete. That's why Sabbath was made for man and not man made for Sabbath. Because if man was made for Sabbath, we would have done defiled it already, just like we have. We would have done destroyed all of what it meant, just like we have. Because man is inherently evil, wicked continuously in his heart. Sabbath was created to heal us, to keep us, to restore us, to make us whole and complete. And that is it. Short and sweet and simple. Sabbath was made for man because man needed Sabbath to get us healthy, to keep us going, to keep us whole, to keep us complete. That's why Yah made Sabbath for us. Has nothing to do with that verse being ridiculously used to say, we don't have to keep the Sabbath anymore. I don't even know how they get that from, oh, well, Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And some magical words behind there apparently make it say you don't have to keep the Sabbath anymore. Wrong. Let's go to Luke. Okay, there we go. Luke chapter 4, verse 16. Luke 4:16. So he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, talking about Yeshua, as his custom was, Yeshua's custom, which is our custom, because he created it. As his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, stood up to read. He read on Shabbat. Yeshua kept Shabbat. But that's not the only place. Oh, there's actually like 100 places, I think, close to it, throughout all of the New Testament, as people call it. But let's go to a couple more. Also in Luke chapter 13, starting at verse 10. Chapter 13, starting at verse 10. Now he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath, behold, there was a woman who had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, was bent over, could in no way raise herself up. When Yeshua saw her, he called her and said to her, Woman, you are loosed from your infirmity. He laid his hands on her. Immediately she was made straight and glorified Yah. But the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation because Jesus had healed on the Sabbath. And there is nothing. And he said to the crowd, there are 6 days in which a man should work, and can come and be healed on them, not on the Sabbath day. So man was declaring that we could not heal on the Sabbath day and tried to declare that Yeshua was breaking the Sabbath. What utter nonsense and blasphemy. Amen. All right, let's go to Acts. Acts chapter 18. Acts chapter 18. I love this word of Yah. I love his book. Love his book. Acts chapter 18, verse 4. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded both Jews and Goyim and Gentiles. Both Jews and Gentiles. They were both keeping Shabbat because they knew what day Shabbat was. And they knew it was to be kept. Let's continue. Hebrews chapter 4. Hebrews chapter 4. Verses 9 through 11. There remains therefore a rest for the people of Elohim, for he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his works, as Yah did from his. Let us therefore be diligent to enter that rest, lest anyone fall according to the same example of disobedience. And he shows that in the wilderness, they broke his Shabbat and they paid the price. And even in the promised land, every time they broke his Shabbat, they paid the price. And this is talking about entering in to the final rest, which is the New Jerusalem, new heavens and the new earth. All right, so to close out my last scriptures, let's go to Revelation. From beginning to end, the precious, precious commandments of Yehovah all the way through, from beginning to end. His beautiful, beautiful Sabbath, his perfect holy covenant to set us apart, to mark us. To mark us, ot, Hebrew word ot, to make a mark, an oath. It's an oath. Yah doesn't break oaths. He doesn't break covenants. How ridiculous. How foolish. Foolhardy. There's not a word strong enough to describe how dumb that we could ever think that his number one covenant of all, that his covenant, any covenant, has been broken, has been annulled. If that was the case, then why didn't he just annul the covenant with Israel and just be done? Why come and die? Why come and suffer so that he could keep that covenant alive? Why? If he's so quick to dismiss this one covenant that's all about entering into that rest eternity with him, the millennial rest with him, and all the other stuff about resting in him, then what? Why? Why put anybody to death? Why did anybody ever be put to death? If this was a covenant he intended on dismissing, blowing off, and throwing it away. Where is even our little finite wisdom and logic? Please, somebody show me where it is. Revelation 12, verse 17. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who do what? Keep the commandments of Yah and have the testimony of Yeshua. Revelation 14:12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are those who keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of Jesus. And then what I love to call the, what is it? The coup de grace, the cherry on top, the great finale, and as we would say in Italy, what would we say? I want to make sure it's a clean one. It's perfecto. He's perfect. Revelation chapter 22, verses 14 and 15. Blessed are those who do his commandments. His commandments. Not who have salvation, not anything else. Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life and may enter through the gates. What gates are those? The 12 gates. What 12 gates? The 12 gates of Yisrael, not of any church. The 12 gates of Yisrael, Revelation 21. Through the gates and into the city. So this right here, Mishpah says, blessed are those who keep the commandments, because they're the ones that will get to enter into the city and have access to the tree of life. But outside are dogs, sorcerers, sexually immoral, murderers, idolaters, and whoever loves and practices a lie. So those who teach, who break and who teach that you do not have to keep the Sabbath, those who break and who teach that the Sabbath is done away with in any way, shape, or form, and those who break and teach that anybody is able to cook, work, or do any of these things that are an abomination unto Yah on the Sabbath. Those people who break the Sabbath and who teach to break the Sabbath will be a part of those who love and partake in a lie. They will be a part of those who will not enter the kingdom of heaven. And I can say that boldly in the name of Yehovah, because his word says so. It is a sin unto death. It is a sin unto death. And Yeshua did not die on the cross so you could break his commandments. Period. His Torah is not done away with. His 10 commandments stand as the very foundation of all that is, that points to Yeshua. It is the number one of the feasts of Yah's blessed Moedim. It is first. It is first. It is first. In everything, it is first. So in that, it is first. When we rest eternally, we will forever be in the Shabbat rest. So you break it, and you teach others to do so, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Mishpah, keep the Sabbath just the way it says it. Obey the word the way it says it. It is cut and dry. It is not hidden. There is no gray areas. It is very easy to see. It is very easy to do, as long as you get over you. I love y'all, Mishpacha, but most of all, Yah loves you. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom.